Well, we can talk more about this now with Adam Marnett. Now, Adam's cousin is currently being held hostage in Gaza. Sahi Idan was taken by Hamas gunmen from his home on October the 7th, and his eldest child, who had just turned 18, was shot dead in the attack. Adam, thank you very much for being with us on BBC News. Tell us a bit more about your cousin.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, Tahi is my age. He's a father of four, one of whom, as you mentioned, Mayan, was killed on October 7th, just after celebrating her 18th birthday. He's a family man. He loves his children very dearly. He loves his wife. He loves his wider family, his siblings, his mother, his cousins. And he's a mad football fan. He loves music. He's a member of the Nahal Oz community, a community of people who are very committed to peace and coexistence and who chose to live there and grew up there in that spirit with strong links to the Israeli Arab communities around the area, the Bedouin communities, and as well as the Palestinians in Gaza. It's a peaceful, coexistent community, and we want Tahi to come back home.
And I know you and the family have been campaigning for his release ever since he was taken captive. But are you any more optimistic now than you have been previously that he could be freed?
Well, one thing we know is that the list that's being circulated around now is not new. We've seen this list before from the collapsed July negotiations. We know that the provenance of the list is likely from the Israeli side, not from the Hamas side. The original list had 40 members. We know since then that 6 of them have been taken off the list. One of them was rescued, Farhan Al-Qadi, an Israeli citizen, Bedouin Arab, who was rescued by the IDF, and the other 5 were killed. They were known to be near Yahya Sinwar, the former militant leader of the military wing of Hamas. When they were their collateral, people like Edin Yerushalmi, who was found weighing just 36 kilos, Hersh Goldberg Poland, whose arm was blown off, and all of them were executed by Hamas. Every day that the hostages remain in custody is a day where their lives are in jeopardy, and we're desperate to have them home. But we're not taking any of the news that's been circulated recently as anything new. Our family have not been contacted. We've not had official confirmation from any government source, any IDF source, any update about the negotiations. As far as we're concerned, this is just potentially psychological warfare, either from whatever party trying to put pressure on the Israeli government, perhaps. We don't know. But there's nothing here that really gives us much succor other than the hope that Sahi is still alive.
Yeah. There are, we gather, indirect talks in Doha. Do you think obviously there have been lots of talks before, direct or otherwise, indirect or otherwise, but do you think these latest talks might bear any fruit?
We've been here before. It's been an emotional roller coaster for all the hostage families. We've had our hopes raised and then dashed on the rocks of despair every time. I don't see anything in this current round of news or report that really gives me much new information to hold on to. I don't really have much faith in the Qatari government. The Qatar government has notoriously been hosting the Hamas Politburo for many years. They've been supporting Hamas. So they're not exactly a neutral mediator, despite the fact that the United Kingdom has very close relationships with Qatar. I haven't seen much leverage by our government about that. With our relationship with Qatar to put pressure on Hamas to release the hostages. Every one of the 100 hostages that are known to be still held there are a humanitarian issue. They've been held for over a year. Their situation is dire. Every day that they continue to be held, their lives are in jeopardy. We know that 9 of those hostages of the 100 have connections to British relatives. They have British family here, one of whom is Emily Damari. She's a British citizen. Others like myself, my cousin Sahi, many of us here in Sussex have family that are very concerned about their loved ones being held by Hamas. And we urge our government to do everything it can to put pressure on Qatar to ensure that our cozy relationship with Qatar actually has some benefit to us in the form of releasing the hostages now.
What about the Israeli government, though? I mean, a lot of the hostage families are angry with Benjamin Netanyahu and his ministers that they haven't done more to secure a hostage release deal. Do you share that anger?
I'm not privy to the actual status of the negotiations. I'm not a politician. I'm not a diplomat. And I'm certainly not a military expert. I'm a cousin of a hostage, and I care deeply about his welfare and the welfare of the 99 other hostages who have become like family to me as well over this past horrific year and change. And I think that we really need to consider the fact that, Israel's already under a great deal of pressure from all sides, from international community, and so on. I think there's plenty of pressure on the Israeli government, and certainly from within Israeli society, people like my family and others have been putting pressure on the Israeli government to do its part. But I think there are other actors at play here, and I think not enough is being said about that. And certainly the role that the United Kingdom can play in that is to use its alliances, to use its allies, to use its diplomatic communication channels with actors like Qatar to exert pressure on Hamas. One of the few states in the world that actually has any influence over Hamas is Qatar. And their leadership is being hosted in five-star luxury hotels in Doha as we speak. So I think it's incumbent upon our government to exert that pressure and ensure that they do everything they possibly can to leverage that relationship to the benefit of the hostages.
All right. Well, Adam, thank you very much for being with us on BBC News. Adam Marnett there, whose cousin Sahi is being held hostage in Gaza. And we do hope that this new year brings you and your family some good news.